You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, friend. I have been so looking forward to talking to you for days now. I have had construction and maintenance in my condo building, and so all week I've been trying to find that window of time when I can sneak away and record this episode without having, things happening in the background. So I think this is my time. We'll see. Fingers crossed. If you hear anything going on, just kind of ignore that. There's just some maintenance stuff, so not a big deal, but super grateful to finally get to have this time. I look forward to it every single week. So today's episode is all about holding the dream and releasing the methods. This is such an important topic. If you've never thought about this before, I think this will offer you a lot of encouragement and excitement around whatever dream that you are trying to make come true. So this is something that I've definitely learned on my business journey, on my life journey. But I think if you're anything like me, the notion of having everything planned out is really satisfying. Like once you make a goal, once you have a dream, like knowing exactly how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, what ways it's going to happen that you conjure up in your own mind, it's kind of like the way things are going to go, right? At least when I was about to leave corporate America and I'd planned out my business, I definitely had done my research. I had my marketing plan. I knew what kind of clients I was going to work with. I knew what kind of offers I was going to make, what my website would say. And that's a great quality, right? Like this is not a bad quality to have if you share this, where you are a planner, you're a strategist. In many ways, it's literally the skill set that I use for my own career now, my own job and company. But what I have learned is that you can have that dream, but you can get very almost derailed if you hold too tightly to the ways that you think it's going to come true. So for me, almost nothing that I planned about that business was actually the way that things transpired. And, I had these visions when I would leave corporate America. I wanted to replace my income. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to do work I was passionate about. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be able to do work online. And I thought that the way I was going to do that would be through a certain course, through certain coaching, through my website, through the wellness stuff. And I held so tightly to that. I literally meditated on it. I visualized, I worked the affirmations. I read everything I could. I pushed. And it was not until I let go of it having to come through that path, and I opened up to the idea of the business I have now, which is the content marketing agency, that all of those things came into place. So I fought for years because I thought it had to happen one way in order for it to be successful, when really all those things I just mentioned, replacing my corporate income, being my own boss, doing work I'm passionate about, making a difference with others, having so much more freedom to virtually, not even be on phone calls hardly ever. All of that was waiting for me through the business I have now. But had I continued pushing for the methods, for the way I thought it would happen, I was losing sight of the dream and focusing more on the methods, if that makes sense. When really it should have been the opposite. When really I should have held that dream and I should have been open to the ways that it could have happened. So once I released that, once I became a little bit more flexible and I released that grip and I opened my hands and I started to look around for creative ways that I could still achieve that same vision and that same dream, that's when everything fell into my hands. That's when everything was there all along and I just couldn't see it. So that was a lesson for me in there are many ways to have your dream come true. There are many ways, and I bet that the one that you think has to happen and the way it has to transpire is not even the best way. There are so many creative ways for your dream to come to life. And so this is just a little bit of encouragement where if you feel like there's anything in your life that you have this tenacity around and this spirit of you're gonna make it happen no matter what, and it's starting to feel less flowy and a little bit more forcey, maybe take a step back and see if there are other ways, if there's other methods that you can bring that same dream to life and you can have your dream in front of you in a way you never even saw before. So give you a second to think about that. It doesn't even have to be business related. For me, another way that this happened was with travel. So I always wanted to travel. I would save up when I was in corporate America, just starting my career. I didn't have a ton of expendable income, but I would save up for a few weekends a year to go see my girlfriends. And we didn't even go anywhere crazy. I went down to LA because that's near where I went to college. We sometimes would go to New York because I loved that city. We would go to Chicago for 4th of July weekend, but US cities, right? Just for a few days, nothing crazy. But I loved traveling and I never let go of that feeling of wanting to be able to travel more. And I remembered in college, everyone was going abroad, and for me it was just too much of a stretch. I was going to a school that was already my dream school. It was already expensive, and so adding on a whole year gallivanting around Europe, to me, it was too crushing for me at the time financially. And so I let go of that, and everyone came back with their stories and everyone was so excited, and there was part of me that just always thought, oh, should I have gone? Should I have not? But I just couldn't at the time. But I kept that dream of wanting to be able to travel and wanting to be able to see the world. And I kind of relaxed around it. I didn't have that same intensity that I had around my business, maybe because there wasn't as much to lose seemingly, or I wasn't putting it all on the line in the same way. But I kept that dream in the back of my mind. Well, look at what's happened. I had no idea that one day that would come to be, that one day it would be beyond my wildest dreams, that I could not only travel, but I could live in these cities working from them all around the world, that I could put my rent money into Airbnbs and I could experience Barcelona and Amsterdam and Buenos Aires and all these amazing cities that I'd only dreamed of, and some I've never even dreamed of. I never even heard of them. I don't want to sound like I'm, wow, great for me or anything. I want to share in the celebration of it with you, of just, can you see that when you hold that vision and that dream, but you release the ways it can come to you, life can almost work with you and get really creative. And I even think of this in past relationships where after my really last heartbreak before I met my love, who is my husband now, I was so devastated. Not even about the person, but just about the defeat of dating and it being kind of hard, and you just, you pour your heart out there and you're always trying your best to meet the right person, but it's never quite the right fit, that kind of feeling. And I just remember driving on the commute to and from work, and at that time my commute was long. It was 45 minutes, and I would listen to love songs, which probably could be considered torture, right? If you're fresh out of a breakup and you're feeling mellow and woe is me about the dating scene and stuff. But for me, I would listen to these love songs and I feel like I sound crazy, but I would think to myself, this is how it's going to be. I know this is how it's going to be for me. I know this person is right around the corner. And I would let myself feel the feeling of these songs. I would feel so just in love with my life, with the person that was coming. And it did not take long being in that state for the right person to be right there. That's who I ended up, falling in love with. Of course, you guys know the story. We're married now. It's so great. I knew the feeling I wanted. I just didn't know the person, right? And so I really think that there's some magic to holding the dream, holding the feeling, because then you recognize it when it comes, right? And you recognize that dream coming towards you because you've been in that feeling before, because you've memorized that feeling. And so even if it looks different than you ever expected, you recognize that feeling. So that has been a big lesson for me. And if any of you are interested in this, Joe Dispenza is an author and researcher that I follow. He does a ton of interesting work in the realm of meditation and visualization and quantum physics. It's fascinating work. He has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and so many others. I've read, all his things. But he really talks about, and I will explain this at a very high level, right? He gets into the science of it and the quantum side, which is so fascinating. But what I understand from it, and what I can at least break down in a 15-minute episode, is you really want to visualize the feeling of already having the thing you want. And that's what puts you in that amazing emotional state of feeling gratitude instead of anxiety or nervousness or fear or control. If you can feel the thing that you want as if it's already there, you start to rehearse that in your brain and in your body. And the fascinating part about your biology is when you have a new thought, it creates a new emotion in your body. That's a new chemical, right? And that starts to create different experiences, even in your own biology. You're practicing those emotions that create hormones, those thoughts that create neural pathways, which create habits, which create instincts. It's so amazing. And so what he recommends is almost like if you have this dream, get really specific on maybe 5 things about this dream that are almost like the non-negotiables, what you really want. And so at the beginning of the episode, I shared a few of them with you. I knew I wanted this business, and even though I couldn't articulate exactly what it looked like or how it would come and work out, I knew a few things, right? Like I told you, I wanted to replace my corporate income. I wanted that feeling of being my own boss, having my own schedule, that kind of thing. I wanted to do work I was passionate about. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be able to be virtual so that I could go anywhere and work from anywhere, not be tied to like an office type of thing. And so those were kind of my 5-ish things. And I've probably even forgotten a few of the other ones. Those are the ones that I still really remember, like meditating on, visualizing, affirming, feeling. And that is exactly the business that I have today. And it's not at all how I thought it would come. It's not the wellness business that I first created, but it is a business that gives me all of those things and gives me the feeling of what the freedom that I wanted when I first went and started my business. And that's the same with the travel, like the ability, it's better than I imagined, the ability to go anywhere and to have these amazing experiences and to let it be part of my life. Like it's beyond what I could have imagined. And same with my relationship, like I knew I wanted the feeling of friendship. I wanted someone who I could talk for hours with. I knew I wanted someone who was a romantic interest, but still just had a really good bond with and a good connection with, who I just enjoyed being around, who was a good person, who was generous, who was kind, who I felt comfortable and at home with. And that is all those things is what I have. And I didn't get specific on hair color, eye color, any of that stuff, because that wasn't the feeling. It was the feeling I was after, and it's the feeling that all of these things have delivered. So this is maybe a little bit more of a visualization or quantum-y type of episode. It's just an interest of mine, and it's something that I'm continually learning more about. But this is what really spoke to me this week, that if there's a dream in your heart that you are really wanting, really desiring, and it can be in health, it can be in relationships, it can be in business, it can be in just things you want, like travel, get clear on what the feeling is. Try and choose 5 things that describe that dream and get into the feeling and practice the feeling as if it's already here. And you will be amazed the creative ways in which it really does come to you and find you. All right? So I'd love to hear if any of this is interesting to you, if you've ever read or heard anything like this, Joe Dispenza or otherwise. But whatever it is for you, hold the dream, release the methods, get creative, let yourself be surprised by the how, by the way it comes to you. That is the fun part. That is really the dream right there, being created in front of your eyes. Thank you so much for listening in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you share it on Instagram stories and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping get the message out. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time, talk to you soon.